Hey everyone, how are you doing? Yeah, I know, I hope you're doing great. I hope it's going well for you and that you're not really having too much of a problem with all this quarantine stuff and lockdown stuff and having to stay isolated from people stuff, you know. But I'm just laughing here. I sat down and put on the video. You notice everything's a little bit more casual at the moment because we're not doing readings, but I sat down to put on the camera and I noticed the nails. Yes, can't go out and get them redone. Even the hair, can't get that done either. So you'll start to see little bits of the grey coming out. Yes, the truth is uncovered. She-Bear has her grey hairs coming out. But you know what they say, every cloud has a silver lining, and every quarantined head out there, I'd say, also starting to get a silver lining. It can't just be me, but that's just the way it is, you know. We've got to do what we've got to do. Hashtag regrowth. But speaking of regrowth, that's something I actually said I'd come and sit down with you and have a chat about, because we are all at home. Some of us are kind of under more pressure than others to be at home. I know we certainly are here, where we really can't leave home, you know, without special permissions and all that. But we should talk about this. What's going on, and what is this thing that the cosmos maybe is trying to kind of point to us and say, you know, it's time for you to stay at home. What could that be about? Well, if you look at it, we've been dealing with so much energy in Capricorn. We've talked about it for so often. You know how it is. Pluto, Saturn. Well, Saturn now has moved into Aquarius, but Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn had been there for the longest time. The South Node. But where is the North Node? Where is our destiny pointed to? The North Node is in Cancer. And what does Cancer rule? The home, family, privacy, being in your own centered space, the internal world as opposed to the external world. And here we are, finding ourselves in a point where we've to examine our destiny, which is to really explore our internal world. And it's interesting because I had said in the last video that the next time I talk to you, I won't be using the cards, but I will this time, because I want to show you something. This card, the Chariot, is the Cancerian card of the tarot. And a lot of people look at this card, and people have actually asked me, what has this got to do with things like Cancerian energies, which is home, family, mothering, privacy, nurturing, nourishing. I mean, what have we got going on here? We've a guy ready to go to battle in full battle gear. And it's masculine. Cancer is feminine, the mother. How is this card possibly related to all these things that are to do with the internal process and the nurturing and the mothering and the developing of the inner world? Well, we can go through it maybe and explain it, not in any great detail, but just to give you an idea of why this might be happening. Well, what have we got here? We've got a chariot. And what is a chariot? A chariot is a vehicle, a thing that we sit inside, a thing that protects us, like the Cancerian energy, like a shell, the crab, Cancer. So we are inside the vehicle, and you're saying, right, okay, we're inside the vehicle, but it's going nowhere. No, look at this guy. He can't even find the steering wheel. It's not moving. He just has his hands all hanging out there. One hand with a big stick, his scepter. The scepter which is ready, like a lightning rod, say, for example, to receive messages. He's saying, I am open for transmissions here. Beam it down to me. And that's exactly what's going on here. But again, you're saying, but wait a minute, you're still not explaining why there's a man in there and not a woman, Cancer, feminine. Well, the female aspect here is the unknown, the unmanifested form. She isn't seen, because in order for the feminine to be seen, the feminine needs to be made manifest. And what's the manifesting energy? Masculine. So we have the Cancerian shell, the chariot. We have the warrior sitting in that shell, and he's waiting for some divine inspiration before he can drive this cosmic Ferrari home, and he's waiting for what? For the divine feminine, the unknown force, the unseen, the one that's in the dark. And he is ready to bring it out, to manifest it and bring it into light. Do you see what I mean? So what has he got to do? Well, he's got to first realize that these are not just a nice set of homemade curtains that he kind of whipped up earlier, just to decorate his car, These are, the veils of the skies. You see, there's stars there, symbols of the great cosmos, shielding him, protecting him. He's under the cover and under the care of the cosmos. And while he's in there, what he has to do is learn how to handle these two things, the feminine, the masculine, the what isn't manifested, what is manifested, compassion versus, full on driving with force. So many things to balance, the opposites that needed to be balanced. And this vehicle isn't going anywhere until he learns to do that. So he sits there and he realizes, I can't do this myself. So I need some divine wisdom. And that's what we're doing. We're at home, sitting there before we can drive this thing. We have to first figure out what we're driving. What do we want? What do we want from our life? I mean, we are being asked to gain better control of what's going on inside of us by staying still, staying steady, and waiting for instruction in some way, but not instruction from out there. Not instruction from some group of people, but some divine instruction, some higher wisdom instruction, spirit instruction, fourth house, Cancer, maybe ancestors giving us instruction. So we have to wait until we're still, steady, private and receptive, all Cancerian energy, receptive to get the beam down of where we're going in our destiny, North Node of Destiny in Cancer. What is our destiny? So we're stuck here, not moving, until we're able to sit quietly and steadily enough and not listen to the external, because that's what we're leaving behind. South Node, Capricorn, we're leaving behind what's in public view, the structures that already exist, the outside structures. And we're asking ourselves, well, how do we build the inside structure? And that's scary. If we are like Cancer energy, opening up and looking at ourselves, there might be a moment where we realize that there's not a whole lot going on inside there other than being triggered by outside things. How can I be all right as a person if I can't go to work? What is there in my life if I can't go to the gym? If I can't do the things out there? What purpose do I have in my life if I am not out there doing something? I can't sit steady in myself without having something to do. We're all in quarantine and I find myself opening up my wardrobe and, alphabetizing. I know that's probably not even a word, but putting everything color coordinated, let's say it that way. I'm finding work for myself to do. I'm putting up shelves, I'm sweeping the floor, I'm vacuuming, I'm watching back-to-back episodes of my favorite TV shows. I'm occupying myself constantly, because if I stop, then what is there? There's just me. And I might be afraid to see that the only things that are inside me are things that I don't understand, or things that other people have put into me. How much of me is empty to be receptive for an honest message, a truthful message, a cosmic message? where there's no opinion, where there's no fake news, where there's no great philosophy or ideology or, I have a theory about this, where there's none of that. There's just you having a private conversation in your personal temple with spirit, with the cosmos, and saying, enough of the outside bullshit. Where am I going? And if you tell me where I'm going, then how do I get there? And again, we're coming back to this card, because the other thing that people often ask is, with the Cancerian card, receptivity, mothering, nurturing, manifesting, why is he dressed like he's going into battle? Well, the Cancerian card, the Chariot, there's a lot of stuff to know about tarot, but just let's kind of keep it simple. The Chariot is one of the cards that sits on what's called the abyss. It's the moment where he is at the precipice, where he has to face his biggest enemy, the biggest enemy. And that's himself, and the bullshit he tells himself, and the ego, and the external world, and all the stuff that he's packed into his self and lived by, and none of it being a core essential truth. That's his biggest enemy. So because it's such a big enemy, the ego, the external, the bullshit that's been programmed into us, being filled to the brim with other people's voices, other people's opinions, other people's knowledge. But at what point can you make it clear? And as I was saying, it's such a scary battle to go face to face with your own self and challenge the ego, that you have to really put on your best armor. You have to really know that this is the big one. Because to cross that abyss, to make something precious and pure and truthful from the unknown part of you, or the spirit part of you, to make that manifest, you've to cross this abyss and get your bloody ego out of the way. All of us. I'm not pointing at you and saying, hey, you get your ego out of the way. I'm talking about all of us. Me, you, all of us. It's the biggest battle that we have, to sit still and be prepared to cross into the fear. And yet the funny thing is, it's the ego that fears this. It's the ego that fears being open and receptive, because the stuff that we tell ourselves might be in direct contrast to what Spirit is telling us. Spirit is all the time giving us messages. It's all the time giving us dreams, signs, symbols, nudges, hunches, feelings. And we ignore them because it clashes with our ego. It clashes with what society deems normal. It clashes with how I perceive things. And yet there's so many people talking about, well, you must be in the flow. You must kind of go with the flow. You must be in tune. You must be this. But how many of them are really prepared to go into the biggest battle, which is to stay at home, your own home, in privacy, sit still and face your own worst enemy? The biggest barrier to your ability to be completely in tune with your authentic self. Saturn now moving into Aquarius. What lessons do you need to learn in becoming your most authentic self? And that's why I'm talking about this. Our North Node of Destiny in Cancer, privacy, home, the four walls that surround us, our homeland, our private inner temple. What use is a temple if it's not a sacred space to receive the truth? So are you ready not to go into battle? Because you see so many people now wanting to blame somebody. It's somebody's fault that all of this is happening. It's them out there. It's this person. It's that thing. It's that. Maybe there are hidden hands at work in some way, shape or form. We'd be very naive to assume not. But they're so small of an enemy against the biggest enemy. And that is our inability to be open and receptive to the greatest truth, the one that's specifically tailor-made for you, the one that's handed down to you, the one that comes undiluted and in its whole pure form to you. And you don't have to be a special person to receive this. You don't have to be sitting on top of a mountain chanting for 40 years to receive this. You just have to go to battle once and be brave enough to face the lies that are inside us and the conditioning and the programming that have been put inside us by the external. Once we clear all of that out, none of the external will matter, because we will grow stronger. The strength that comes from knowing where you get your information from, which should be from your higher power, your higher authority, the one that's directly connected to you. When we do that, the level of strength that comes our way is unbelievable. We're handed the sword of truth. And like the justice card, once we have the sword of truth in our hand, we can make incredible decisions in our lives and follow an authentic path without doubting it. You know, we doubt when we don't have the truth. We doubt because we're going on external information. We have fear when we go on external information. But we have confidence, trust, solidity, an absolute feeling like I know what I'm doing. Once we are ready to come home to ourselves, clean out our temple and make it a place of worship, private, between you and spirit, you, your higher power, cosmos, God. That is your temple. That is where you receive your wisdom. And once, like this guy here, once he's able to stand still long enough and receive that wisdom, he's going to drive this thing home with full force. This card represents victory. And very often the card suggests like a shooting star across the sky. And he is like a shooting star across the sky, bringing success, victory, overcoming his enemies, defeating. Because his biggest enemy was the external. And that is part of the tarot journey. And I wonder, is this part of our journey? Is this the moment where Saturn goes into Aquarius, where we're being asked to find our authentic selves and learn the lesson of that? Is this a gift? Is it a gift because I've no money, can't pay my bills, can't go out there? Well, maybe out there is not where you're supposed to be. If we really trusted some higher energy, we would never be let down. We would never be without full supply. We would never have lack. We would always be in abundance. So maybe it's time to find our abundance, and it begins by staying home and, not always finding things to keep yourself occupied, but get occupied. Put on your armor, polish it up, put on the breastplate and crown, and fight your biggest enemy, which is all the barriers that are stopping you from having peace inside yourself, strength inside yourself, and a connection with some power inside yourself that will never steer you wrong. In fact, they don't even want to steer you. He gives you the chariot and says, now now that you've all the real info, steer it yourself and have the victory of crossing over your fears, crossing over the abyss, because that is your victory. So I don't know. I thought I'd share that with you. Because as we sit at home, and as I said, we're looking for things to do. My floor has never been so clean. And things like that. But maybe we are finding an opportunity here to really have a moment to tap into the deep mysteries that are, it's almost like the universe is saying, here's your gift. What do I have to do? I've locked you at home. I've taken away the external world. I've put a major stress and fear out there which forces you to self-examine. What more do I have to do to get you to sit quiet and to get you to fight for your truth and fight to finally let go of the past and fight to move on in a new way where you're more secure, more content, and where your temple is always a place of strength, worship, and ultimately abundance and love. Because every place of worship it's a space to receive divine love. It's a space to receive it, and it's a space to give it. And maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe some of you are listening to this going, I thought you'd come on and tell us something else. This is all a bit too heavy. But there is, like my nails and my hair, a need here for some regrowth and a bit of touching up here. It's an opportunity. We're seeing ourselves possibly for the first time collectively in a way that we've never seen before. And we have an opportunity together. This is not one person going through this experience and then feeling, but what could I do? This is all of us. So we're going through it all together. The potential for this to bring a better destiny for all of us is so strong. So I'm kind of going to leave it at that for now. I hope that wasn't a bit too esoteric. Hope you're not now saying she has just spent how long is she in quarantine now? She's starting to go mad. Yeah, well, that's what it does to you too. But see it as an opportunity, and I'm going to be doing that because I have a lot to learn, and I have a lot of energy to put into cleaning up so many things, So let's do it together, Put down the mop. Stop cleaning all that external stuff. Start cleaning up inside here. Start cleaning up your connection to your authentic love. So we're going to wrap it up, and I am going to stay in touch with you. It'll probably be stuff like this. So we'll see what we can kind of talk about. But I do miss you. I miss the readings. But we are staying in touch, and that's all that matters. And we're here. We're all at home. Thank God for the internet. That's all I'm saying, But look, I leave it at that. I leave you as always with all my love, my gorgeous. And a big kiss until the next video. Okay? Mwah. Bye, my love.